Today, we're going to be talking about retention. And in my opinion, this is the most important part of practice building. It's about creating a culture in your office that people just want to stay at. So, we're going to talk all about different strategies and just the feeling and the mindset behind creating this great culture. And this is one thing, after 30 years of practice, we focused so much on creating retention. I know when we had our biggest months and years of numbers of patients, we were up in the neighborhood of 1,200 people per week. And that was with building a practice, with 30 to 40, maybe 50 new patients a month. And so we didn't have a huge new patient flow, but we were really successful at creating a culture that people wanted to stay and bring their families and just remain for the long term. So we had a lot of patients who stayed with us for 15, 20, 25 of those years. So that was really awesome. You get to know people very well. You get invited to weddings and funerals, and really we judge that as a sign of our success when we could really create relationships. The big thing is that people will quit clubs, people will quit memberships, but they have a hard time quitting relationships. So when you build relationships with people, they have a hard time leaving. They feel almost indebted to stay with you for the long term because you've created that relationship and they feel like they're a big part of that relationship. So let's talk about retention strategies. So it's really easier to retain clients than it is to get new ones, and all of us focus on getting more new patients. We're doing online advertising, we do our lunch and learns, we go out and we try to recruit and share the principle with people as much as we can, which is awesome. But if we would spend that much time and effort and resources into building the infrastructure in our office that creates a great environment for people to want to stay, then that would really behoove us and probably in the long run be worth more as far as an ROI, return on investment, than actually trying to go and get new ones all the time. So here's the thing is let's talk about why do people buy? And this could be any product or service. Why do people buy? They buy because they want an outcome. If you're buying a plane ticket, you don't buy a plane ticket just for a ride on a plane. You're buying the destination. But here's the big thing, and airlines understand this, is that they know that people want the experience. So people buy because of the experience. So they're buying because of the destination. But if the airline can provide a good experience, that's going to get those customers to fly with that airline again. So creating an experience is really important. And then the other thing that people buy as a result of is emotion. So if we're creating those three things, we create an outcome or destination, we give them a system of procedures of what they want. They come in for whatever it is, pain relief or whatever. We give them a system of pain relief, but there's so much more to that. We want to provide an experience and we want to provide an emotion. We want to get them feeling something when they're in our office or being part of our office so that they want to continue to return. So we're going to talk about these different things and how do we put those in place. So retention adds monthly recurring revenue. If you look at the valuation of any single business, if you are buying a business or buying a practice or you wanted to sell your practice, one of the first things that people would look for, and I've been involved in a lot of purchase and sales of practices, the first thing that I would look for is what is the monthly recurring revenue? How many of those patients are coming in on a regular basis? How many are on care plans where they're paying a monthly recurring revenue? So if we're collecting $50,000 a month, but 35 or 40,000 of that is monthly recurring revenue, that's a sign of a healthy practice. So these are, again, things to start thinking about and putting in place. And also the other thing is retention patients are the dream patients. If you could wave a magic wand and choose the type of people that you want to care for, wouldn't they be people that just come in with no symptoms? They're not complaining about pain. They're not saying, Doc, it hurts here and here, or I don't know what you did to me last time. But they're the type of people that embrace what you do. They embrace the culture in the office. They love your team. They want to hang out. They want to, talk about their life with your team, and your team engages with them. And they come in, they get adjusted because they know the value of keeping their spine adjusted, keeping their nervous system functioning. They understand the principle, and they're referring other people as a result of that. So these are, again, things that we want to try to get them to that point. Well, how do we do that? Well, okay, so think about clubs or memberships that you've joined in the past. Why did you quit? Right? So let's say it was a gym or maybe a golf club or something. If you're not a member there anymore, why did you quit? Because perhaps that club or that membership stopped serving its purpose or stopped creating the feeling that caused you to want to be there or be a part of that membership in the first place. So that's one of the reasons why people quit. They lose the feeling of why they should, keep coming. So let's start with new patients. Okay, new patient strategies. How do we start to create retention patients right from day one? Well, obviously, we want to start by creating that objective measurement. People come in for pain relief. And if we don't address that in the way that we consult people right from the first phone call, the way our front desk staff, the way our team addresses the people, if we don't start to engage them with principle right from the beginning, then we commoditize our office. And if we become a commodity, realize that healthcare very much is looked upon as a commodity. It's looked upon as a system for pain relief. And if you look at all of the practitioners that provide pain relief, whether it's medical doctors or osteopaths or physios or massage therapists or naturopaths or chiropractors, if we can't differentiate ourselves, then all we are is another commodity. So why would somebody choose pain relief from a chiropractor when they can go to a medical doctor? Why would somebody choose some sort of pain relief from a chiropractor when they can go see an osteopath or a massage therapist that might be less costly or even more enjoyable than coming to our office if we haven't created that culture? So we have to start talking about principle and elicit those feelings right from the beginning. So let's look at our new patient strategies. If our new patient strategies can't address the why of why they're there and what it's going to take to get them to a better state of life. By delivering chiropractic to people, what are we delivering? We're delivering the potential for a better life, a better existence. We're delivering that dopamine rush, that oxytocin rush that gets them excited, that gives them joy in their life. We're delivering that unmatched or unmet potential that they have. We're opening up that creative flow that happens within them. We're allowing that person to express their full potential as a human being on this planet. And so if we can put that into our delivery system and allow the people that come in to see us to understand that's what we deliver. We don't deliver pain relief. We deliver the opportunity to remove interference and reach the full God-given potential that they have. All of a sudden, we have differentiated ourselves. So putting that into your new patient examination or your initial consultations is absolutely important. Using that objective measurement. So we're not doing orthopedic tests or checking for pain. We're using some sort of measurement that we can measure and show the person their progression through their chiropractic journey that takes away that pain mentality. It doesn't matter whether they're feeling pain or not feeling pain, as long as this objective measurement is progressing and improving, and we can show them that. We can show them a visual, some sort of graph or chart or picture that they are improving because of chiropractic care, and that improvement is allowing them to fulfill that potential in their life. We've connected those together. Then all of a sudden we've created a great retention patient. They understand why they're there long after the pain is gone. So we got to get them out of that pain model. We need to try to change our patients to practice members. In fact, we really encouraged our team to use that term all the time, was practice members. People were members of our practice. They weren't just patients. Patients come in for some sort of symptom. They were practice members. They were members of our community, members of our culture. So we tried to create this culture. One thing that I really try to emphasize when I'm talking to people as far as developing a doctor's report, and one thing I learned over the years with my doctor's report is it had to transition from that of a teaching. If I felt my doctor's report, and this was really evident when I would videotape myself, and I did that often, recorded myself doing a doctor's report and analyzed what I was saying, how I was saying it, and the feeling that I got by listening to myself doing it, that was the feeling that people were getting. And I felt it was in the initial stages very much of a teaching session. And when I was talking about certain angles of their spine and the misalignments and lack of curve and the degrees here and the pelvic unleveling, but that was a problem because it didn't really stimulate that emotion. When I started changing my doctor's report to that of more of any emotional feeling, started telling stories and managing their preconceived objections in those stories and trying to deliver a message within those stories and getting emotional. Some of those stories were personal stories. some of those stories were stories of patients or testimonials or great breakthroughs. That created the feeling. And often it would elicit tears, or it would elicit laughter, or it would elicit some sort of involvement and engagement from those patients in the doctor's report. And when I could do that, I knew that I was I knew I was creating a feeling. Because remember, and you've heard the story, that people don't remember everything that you say. They're not going to remember about the CD angle, or they're not going to remember about the proper curve even of their neck. Some people might, but the majority of people don't. But they do remember how you made them feel during that time. And that's what triggers them to say, this is the place that I want to be, not just start at, but be a part of for the long term. Asking for referrals. And we used to do that all the time. And this was a really, really neat technique, is that often we would hear it. And this is what stimulated me to start asking this. And many of us will ask, who do you know that needs to come here? But I would say there's even a better way to ask this, is when you go through a doctor's report and you can elicit feelings and emotions of people in the doctor's report, one of the first questions that my staff or myself would ask that person after the doctor's report is, who was going through your mind when we were talking about the story of Jason? Or who was going through your mind during that doctor's report? And ultimately, every single person had somebody that went through their mind that they thought, that person needs to be here. And that would open up the door for us to say, okay, well, let's do what we can to get that person in here. And ultimately, it would happen. That's how we stimulate referrals. And here's a really neat analogy. For those of you who have ever had any experience with Alcoholics Anonymous, known a family member or known a friend or somebody who's gone through Alcoholics Anonymous, AA has a patented 12-step program for helping somebody get off the addiction of alcohol. Well, the first step is admitting you have a problem. Similar to chiropractic, people come into the office because they finally admit they have a problem and they need help. And through that course of care, I mean, we teach them a proper alignment of their spine. We teach them how to get adjusted. We teach them about the principle of chiropractic. We teach them nutrition. We teach them exercise. We teach them positive mindset, all these different steps. But the last step of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is really the kicker, and studies have shown that when somebody going through AA can get to the 12th step and engage in the 12th step, they typically have fantastic success at not going back, not being re-engaged into the alcoholism that they were suffering from earlier. And that 12th step is referring another alcoholic to Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's the same thing in chiropractic. If we can help that person that goes through our day 1, day 2, day 3, engage in the thinking of what we do, understand the principle of what we do, feel the energy, feel the culture that we're creating, and then therefore refer another person, all of a sudden something triggers in that person to become a lifelong patient, to become a lifelong practice member. So asking for those referrals, or getting the person to think of, or admit who they were thinking of through that doctor's report, or who they were thinking of through the first 3 days of their interaction in your office, is so vital in creating a long-term relationship with that person. The other thing is testimonial videos. We got to the point where we just had a video camera. It was actually just a phone set up on a tripod in a corner of one of our adjusting rooms. And anytime somebody had a great response or said something wonderful, or some sort of revelation that happened through their chiropractic care, whether it was something as simple as, gosh, my muscle spasm went away, or my knee feels better, or my shoulder feels better, or something great like, my doctor told me that I could never get pregnant, and here I am now, I'm pregnant because of the chiropractic care that I've been receiving. And they would actually get right into the whole dynamics of removing nerves, removing interference from nerves that go to the uterus. And now all of a sudden my body has changed and I'm able to get pregnant. Let's get that on video. So I would seriously bring them right over right away. I would stop what I was doing. The other person in the next stall would have to wait, or on the next table would have to wait. And I would go over and we'd actually have the staff ask them a couple of questions. We'd record it all on video, edit the video, and those videos would be up on social media or on a website to share with everybody else. Or we actually had a reel of videos of testimonials playing in our office all the time so other people could see the wonderful things. People would laugh and smile when they actually came in and saw themselves doing the testimonial on video, in the office. It was another great feeling that created in the office. That created a real great culture in the office. So asking for referrals, getting those video testimonials. Here's another thing that not many of us do, but this is a good thing to do on a day 4 or a day 5. What we do is we had an onboarding session. So after somebody would sign on, we'd go through the doctor's report, they would sign on for care. The next visit was an onboarding session. The onboarding session would be kind of an orientation on, okay, this is how it works. This is how we do our home care. We'd show them the office flow. We'd show them the number system. But also part of that onboarding interview, one of our staff would ask, and we trained on this, is, and basically it was very scripted to say, most of our patients decide to stay here for the long term. We've got patients that have stayed for 10, 15, 20 years. Their families come in for care. So she's pre-framing and planting seeds in their mind, which was wonderful. But she said, in the rare occurrence that somebody quits, we want to know why they quit care. So this was part of the script. We want to know why they quit care, because we want to constantly be improving our systems to make it a great experience for everybody that comes into our office. So we would ask you that if you ever decide to stop care, whether it's in 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and of course that would be intentional on saying those numbers, that you would do an exit interview, that you would sit with one of the doctors and do an exit interview just to let us know why you decided to quit. Well, ultimately what that led to was we would have the odd exit interview with people, and they would say that, the odd occasion that, oh, I just don't feel like it's really helping me. So that would give us the opportunity to start asking questions. Well, why do you feel that? Well, I still have symptoms here, blah, blah, blah. So then that would give us, again, the opportunity to discuss their care plan on how they started with care, and were they fully engaged in the care plan? Where were we falling short? Where did they fall short with their responsibilities? And often, not just occasionally, but often, it would lead to us being able to upsell, for lack of a better term, that person on a more intensive care plan, or go back to a corrective care plan. So they were coming once a week. In many cases, they were ready to walk out the door. We would have that conversation with them, and then they would engage back on a 3-time-a-week care plan with new x-rays and new home care and just a whole new strategy. So it was a great way to re-engage patients, and it helped us to determine, were we falling short in certain areas? But in most cases, it was just a re-engagement of really why they were there and the lack of results that they felt that they were getting. So that was, again, really beneficial. To create a great retention practice, we would always have lots and lots of communication. We wanted to make sure that every single person that came in felt like they were a VIP. We wanted to make sure that every single person felt like they were getting a personal relationship built by our team, by myself, by the other doctors in the office, by my wife, by our CAs. So we would always do reach out. So we never ever missed a day 1 or day 2 phone call. That was part of the strategy, and we had systems in place so that we would never miss those. At the end of the day, I would receive an email with a list of numbers that I needed to call, and typically I would call them on my way home from the office. I would just click on the email links and the phone numbers, and that would put me right through. So typically by the time I was home in the driveway, I would have made the majority of my calls. So it was easy to do. It was just a routine that we got into. But here's the thing, is that we started adding phone calls for re-exams. So after a re-exam, we would call the person and ask what their experience was with the re-exam, talk about the results, talk about the next stage of care, the next strategies. We would call after a re-x-ray and just talk about what we found before we actually showed the x-ray to the patient on their next visit. Say, hey, we're really happy with the results. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna see you the next time you're in the office, and we'll go over the details. But again, it just created that personal relationship and created that just the feeling from the patient that they were really being taken care of, that they felt very special about that. If somebody came in and was having a bad day, I would keep a little list in my pocket and just say, hey, Diana, can you put those people on my call list? I just want to give them a call just to kind of make sure and see that everything's okay. And often we would do a random office reach out phone call. So if we were having like our regular events, like a nutrition talk, which we did monthly, or if we had a dinner coming up, we would often in huddles talk about who can you think of right now, who pops into your mind that needs to come to this nutrition talk? So same question that I would ask to the team, who pops into your mind that needs to be at this Nutrition 102 talk? And they would bring up names. Oh, I think so and so should be there. Great. Okay, so they would go on a list, and I would phone and do a little reach out. Hey, just random phone call just to check and see how you're doing. By the way, we thought of you, thinking that this might be something that you might really value by coming to this nutrition talk that we're having. So constant events, but constant reach out as well. So it builds that personal relationship with people. One thing that our team was really, really dedicated to was attendance tracking, and they were right on the ball. So anytime somebody missed an appointment that day, and we went over this time and time again at the end of the day, and I'm going to say my wife was fantastic about this, because she would do a end of shift huddle, not just a beginning of shift huddle, she would do an end of shift huddle to talk about any patients who had special needs that day, anybody who needed to be on a recall list, anybody who didn't show up that day that was on the schedule and didn't show up. Why didn't they show up? Were they rebooked? If for some reason they weren't rebooked, they would definitely be on a call list by her, not just by the CA, by her, just to check on them to see. So it really kept people engaged in their schedule. Disengaged patients, and especially if you're not following up with them with compassionate aggression. This is the term we used to use, compassionate aggression. So we need to be aggressively compassionate when we followed up with people. We use the same term when we're talking about reaching out to our Facebook leads. They phone for a reason. They have a health problem. We need to be aggressively compassionate and compassionately aggressive to get in touch with those people to make sure that we book an appointment for them to get in. Same thing with our people that are in the office. If they're having a rough time, if they're disengaged with their care, we need to be compassionately aggressive to make sure that they're getting back on their care plan, because disengaged people don't stay. They're going to quit. It's just a matter of time. So that's something that we really needed to keep good accountability of. We would have that onboarding meeting and during that onboarding meeting that I was discussing, we would not only go over just, it would be a good time to remind them about why they needed corrective care. So do you remember what we saw in those x-rays and why we were so concerned, right? So, so just remember that if you get out of pain, and some people get out of pain after the first few adjustments, fantastic. The problem's not corrected. And if you get out of pain and decide, hey, I feel better, I'm going to quit, does this problem get better or worse? And we're constantly reminding them that this is a process over time. So setting expectations. So we would talk about their care plan. So whether their care plan was 24 visits or 36 visits or 88 visits, whatever that was, we would give them a roadmap to say, okay, these are when we're doing our re-exams. This is what our expectations are. This is what your So we're laying out the roadmap for their expectations. Unmet expectations kill relationships. So they kill like husband-wife relationships, boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, partner relationships. They kill doctor-patient relationships or practice member relationships when somebody's expectations in their mind are unmet. So having a good conversation to make sure those expectations are laid out in advance is absolutely vital, really vital. So, and again, it reconfirms their buying decision, and especially when you do it on day 4 or day 5, right after they've committed to their care plan, and you go over the expectations, and this is what we're doing, you reconfirm in their mind, because people do get buyer's remorse. It's a big ticket item for a lot of people. They do get buyer's remorse. They think, is this really the right thing for me? Now you're reconfirming that, yes, this is absolutely the right thing. So the next thing was that walkthrough meeting. We would do the walkthrough that happens on the right after day 4. And again, going over the onboarding things. And again, it would happen at every re-exam too. So we would get them to the first re-exam and make sure that they knew exactly where they're at in their care plan. We would go over their initial findings, go over our next plan of care, which goes to the next re-exam. So giving them short spurts of things to think about, rather than say, remember you're here for a year. It would be that, the next few visits. So let's hang on to the next few visits. Let's keep doing our home care. Let's make sure we don't miss any appointments. We'll reevaluate after the next few visits. So you're constantly giving them small little goals to get to, and then celebrate those goals. What we started implementing in the office, and this was actually stimulated by what we used to do at Max Living, was people that were around for 5 years would get a backpack. It was like a badge of honor. So we started doing that in our office. And so for people that were there for 50 adjustments or 100 adjustments, we would recognize them publicly. Now, one of the things that we used to do very often was have events. So we had dinners. That was one of the things that drove our practice. But part of those dinners would be to recognize people that had, that were really truly engaged in the practice. They'd been there for, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that is. And so every single dinner, we had probably half a dozen people that we were giving gifts to or giving awards to and acknowledging them in front of everybody. And they get a round of applause. It would feel great. They, elicit the feeling. And they would feel wonderful about our office. And that, again, complemented the retention strategy as well. So start implementing gifts for people who have been there for a long time. And, whether it's 50 visits or 100 visits or the 1 year anniversary or 2 years or 5 years, whatever that is, it's a fun way to create a culture again in your office. Remember, here's the big thing is that you got to have fun in office. If you're not having fun, if you're going in every day doing the same thing, and there's any little piece of you that thinks this is getting mundane or this is getting boring or there's not that joy and that excitement of going in, believe me, your staff is feeling the same way and your patients are feeling the same way. And what happens when people stop feeling that joy or that excitement, they disengage. And when they disengage, it's just a matter of time before they leave, staff or patients. So create that environment, and it's got to come from the lead person. It's got to come from the captain of the ship. So create that environment, get some ideas, do some different things just to create that culture in your office. One thing that we did is we had an affiliate program. And you look now, affiliate programs for anything are huge. Amazon has tremendous affiliate programs. People make millions and millions of dollars being an affiliate marketer through Etsy, through Amazon, through Shopify. There's all these, different ways that you can be an affiliate marketer. So set it up in your office. Give affiliate gifts, or give affiliates can either earn bonuses to their care plan. Maybe they can earn gift certificates to products. Maybe they can earn something or some sort of valuation when they refer other people. So whether you give them a referral card, which is probably the easiest way to do it, or set up a digital link that people can share on their phone to another person where that person can actually book an appointment, a new patient appointment, and it would associate that person with the affiliate that referred them, and that person then that affiliate all of a sudden gets all kinds of accolades as a result of that. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to get excited about doing it further and further and more and more. So it's a great way to kind of stimulate excitement in your office. But remember, the big thing is that people that are excited love to refer, and people that refer are excited. So you keep that excitement in your office. Referring is part of building that excitement. And the last thing is creating events. So, if yours is an office that is, you're just going in day to day, caring for your patients, making adjustments, going home, and that just is the regular occurrence every day, right through the week, every single week, and you don't have any special events set up, the culture is very poor. So we need to start looking at how can we create excitement in our office. So one of the things that we did very regularly was have our nutrition talks. Nutrition was a big part of our practice. I love nutrition. I wanted to teach nutrition, and people were generally excited about weight loss, about nutrition, about learning about different supplements and how they can live a natural life and a healthier life through nutrition, feed their families better, have healthy children, combat different conditions nutritionally as well. So we would have once a month, we would have regular nutrition talks, and typically it was nutrition 101, 102, 103, and we would just rotate. And we had quite a following. They would come multiple times to each of those events, and they would sometimes bring guests. But again, it created excitement in the office. So, and again, videotape everything. So we would do those nutrition talks, we would videotape them, and then we would play them in the office, or we would put them on social media, or we would cut them up into different clips and put those different clips at different places and so on, which again created more excitement and more of a following, got comments, got people engaged in what we were talking about. Partner with some other people. So you can bring in guest speakers to your office, have a speaker come in. Again, it creates some excitement. It changes the culture. So it might be partnering with a mattress shop, somebody that sells mattresses. Maybe you have special recommendations. People ask you all the time, what type of mattress should I buy? Partner with a mattress shop. Learn about the different brands, what's worthwhile, what's good, why they're different, what's the difference between a memory foam and a pocket coil. Know these things. And this is a great thing to talk about with your patients. But if you could bring somebody in to have a talk like that, all of a sudden a whole bunch of people would show up. Create a partner agreement with people. Maybe it's a yoga studio. Maybe it's a smoothie store or whatever. Maybe it's somebody who does meditation or somebody who does art therapy or an aromatherapist. But these are all wonderful partnerships that allow people to have this diversity and different mindset, but it still corresponds with what you're delivering as far as principle. So this can really work beneficially for creating this culture in your office. One thing that we did was, we wanted to have a real strong family practice. So it was very important that we made sure people knew that we were all about children being under care. So many of our events involved kids, like Kids Day. So we had Kids Days regularly, and we would try to one up from the last one that we always had. So it got to the point where we contacted different people in our community, made it a big event, said we were advertising this Kids Day. And so at the time, it was in the newspaper and on radio. We had ads running and flyers that we would pass out. This is even before all the internet stuff. And we would contact the police station, the fire station, and they were right involved with it. So the police station actually came up and did a fingerprint ID for the kids. So they would actually come and they would fingerprint and log the identification of each child to make sure that they had those credentials and had that stuff on file at the police station. The fire truck would come over, the firemen would come over, set up the fire truck and let the kids run and jump on the fire truck and climb through the fire truck and give tours. And we had the reptile guy. We had a local pet store that was very big into reptiles. So they came over and they brought all their reptiles and did a kind of a little display and show, which was a great partnership for them, because then they got more people coming into the pet store inquiring about, having a pet snake or a pet iguana or whatever. So that was kind of a fun thing to bring over. We had a local petting zoo bring over. They set up a horsey carousel where they had little ponies and they were giving pony rides to the little kids. We had a bouncy castle. We had a bring your dog to work day. So anything that can be exciting or create this excitement in the office, again, is only valuable to your team. Have fun with it. Create a culture that is fun, and all of a sudden your retention goes way through the roof. Dinners can drive your practice. I mean, forget about the online marketing and stuff to attract new patients. If you just only did dinners to attract new patients, and very simply, there's two types of dinners. There's the patient appreciation dinner, which is done once or twice a month, and every single new patient is given a handwritten invitation to come to that dinner. And all it is, it's a chance to meet you. You talk about your vision. You talk about why you became a chiropractor. You talk about the principle with people and how you got to learn the principle and why your family is adjusted regularly and why your kids don't take drugs and why your kids don't get vaccines or shots. And why your kids, haven't been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or these types of problems, and just sharing your passion and sharing your vision for a healthy world at these dinners. And all of a sudden you get people on board. They get infiltrated with this vision and they capture the vision and they just want to be with you. They want to be part of your practice. That's a great way to create retention. So that's the first dinner. The second one is the community appreciation dinner. And we actually set this up like a wedding. And we would do it every 8 weeks, and we would go to a hotel and rent the big ballroom of a hotel and have it catered and literally do it just exactly as the name sounds. It was a community appreciation. It was in appreciation for our community for helping us build a wonderful, viable business and being able to have an ability to touch the community in the ways that we did and change lives the ways that we did. So we just approached it that way. So it wasn't a scheme to go get new patients. So we invited dignitaries, we invite the mayor, we invited the members of parliament, anybody that's some CEOs of different companies, and we would honor them at the dinner. We could have like a little health fair at the dinner. So some of our patients that had complementary businesses, whether they sold toxic-free cleaning products, or maybe they sold nutritional supplements, or maybe they sold aromatherapy type things, we would allow them to have a booth at the dinner and we would honor them, or maybe give them a couple of minutes to talk about what they did. We would partner with a charity at the dinner and we would put baskets on the table and ask everybody who was there. And sometimes we had 350 people at these dinners, and ask everybody who was there if they felt it in their heart, let's pay it forward, throw whatever you can into basket on the table, and all that basket's going to go to the charity of choice for this dinner. And we would actually have a spokesperson from the charity, and they would come and say a lot of great things about us. It created this energy. But as a result of that, not that we were trying to get new patients, we ended up with 70, 80, 90 new patients every single dinner that would want to come into the office because of the culture and the energy that it created. So I would encourage you, if you haven't done these types of things, just start. And this is honestly, we just started with the first one. And frankly, we just learned from every one. The first one, we might have had maybe 35 people there. It was a small room at the hotel. And we thought, okay, next time we're going to do this different, do this different. We're going to have tickets so people, show up and we buy the right amount of dinners. And sure enough, then it got to, 65 people, 100 people, 150 people. And next thing you know, we got 350 people showing up at the dinner. So it was really kind of a fun event. So the last thing that I want to just say is that, retention is key. If you want to build a great practice, new patients are the lifeblood of a practice. Absolutely they are. But it's so much easier to retain those new patients. If we can build a relationship with them, if we can share our vision and educate them to the benefits of chiropractic, because the world does not know the benefit of chiropractic. The world just doesn't understand what we understand, because if they did, everybody would be coming. There'd be no question. We only have less than 13% of the population in any community that's even ever attempted to go to a chiropractor, and the majority of that 13% is not going on a regular basis. So the possibilities are endless. So if we can start creating a culture in our office, start having fun with it, all of a sudden, our practice starts to explode because people just want to stay. We close the back door, we fill up all the holes in the bucket, and guess what? Everything just starts to grow and grow and grow. And not only that, the valuation then of your practice, your collections go through the roof. And if you ever get to the point of valuating your practice for a transfer or a sale or anything like that, all of a sudden that practice becomes a really, really viable thing to have, and you have a lineup of buyers as opposed to looking for a buyer. So guys, I love you. If you ever want to talk personally about this, you can send me a DM in Facebook, and I'm happy to get on a phone call with any of you. All the best. Have a great one.